All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a draft, and we're going to do a draft. It's going to actually be in honor of Mike Leach, who just passed away. I think I'm going to have Greg and Dave share some of their memories real quick about him. But we thought it'd be fun to say which coaches would you want to have a drink with? And I'm going to leave that up for interpretation. So that could mean, hey, this person's interesting. Like Greg, like we were talking off camera, like, it'd be cool to just pick this person's brain. So I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to leave that open for interpretation, and we'll go with it. So I'll give the stipulations on this draft here in a second, but Greg, why don't we start with you? Like, so we were talking about doing this, you, Dave, and I, a week or so ago when Mike Leach passed away. So like, why did you want to do this one?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's definitely interesting. It's an interesting concept. I think we've thrown it around for a while. But I think, Mike Leach was kind of the universal answer. I think a lot of people had to, like, the guy you'd want to get a drink with, any coach. And since he's passed, you hear a lot of stories, honestly, of just that, of people that just spent time with him and, had some unique experience with him that really had nothing to do with football. So that was like, and I think for us, it was like, yeah, this is a perfect time to do something like this. I mean, coaches are, well, obviously you've coached. I think we've all coached in different capacities, and it's or in a work setting, we're, leaders in one way or another. So it is, they're always fascinating. And, the personality that it takes to be a coach, the way coaches motivate, the different tactics of motivating. So, I think it'll be interesting to see, because I mean, we could be all over the spectrum on this. I kind of have, like, this could go a lot of different ways. I think it'll be pretty fun.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, we've done these draft things before, and they're always fun, because then whenever we put out this, hey, we're going to do a draft for such and such, then you actually start to sit down and actually think about, like, if I actually was doing a draft, or I actually had to go sit and have drinks with someone, and then you really start to think of that criteria. And I thought this was kind of going into it, like, when you first said it, you think about legendary coaches and things like that, but then you start to, like, look at the list on there, and you're like, well, maybe it's not so much that. It's like, this would be like a fun night out with this person. We're going to be inspired by this person. So, I mean, Leach, to say about him, I mean, I remember we were, in college, like, watching those Texas Tech games. Like, he really kind of changed things with that. Those are fun games to watch, just because of the air raid offense. So, terrible to see that he's past the 61, but this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it's a tribute, but we want to have fun with it. So basically, let me just set the premise, and then we're gonna draft. So we are under the stipulation, we're going to each take one NBA coach, one Major League Baseball coach, one NFL coach, one college coach. Now that college coach can either be college football or college basketball. One fictional coach, so from a movie, from a TV show, whatever, which will be interesting. And then one flex, so one coach from any sport, even if it's like an NBA, MLB, whatever, something you've already taken. So those are the terms of our draft here. So basically, it's going to be, basically you and 6 drinking buddies to going out, having dinner, having some drinks, and having a fun night. So whatever that entails, I'm going to leave that in up to interpretation. So Greg, I think this was kind of your idea a while back. So I'm going to just let you lead off, and you can go any sport, however you want. So I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of those where it's almost like you almost don't want to go first, but I was ready in case I did. So I'm going to start with a college coach. Been out of the game for a little while, but he would definitely make things very interesting for the group right off the bat. I'm going to go Bobby Knight. And, in all honesty, I mean, when you think about Bobby Knight, lot of controversy, a lot of, not sure if he'd make it in today's game necessarily. Had a lot of success, a lot of controversy, a lot of really good sound bites. May not have been the best guy to play for. Some people loved him, some people hated him, but it's actually, when I think about it, it's like, well, he went to Ohio State. So like you have that to talk about, right? He was on the 1960 national championship team. And then obviously had a storied career as a coach. I just feel like he would have incredible, like, as far as stories go, I mean, he would have absolutely incredible stories. He might get a little bit belligerent, but the stories I think would be great. And he'd just be somebody fun to like, you just prompt him with a couple questions and kind of just sit back and let him cook.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And if things get out of hand, he could always throw a good chair there for you. Oh, and I forgot to mention in the stipulation too, these coaches can be in the game or, as Greg said, retired. And for your flex, you can even go a deceased coach as well for this. We are going to take Mike Leach off the table since we are honoring him for this draft. We're going to call it the Mike Leach draft. But so we got Bobby Knight with the first pick as from Greg. So Dave, I'm going to give it up to you. Your choice.
All right. I will. There's a lot of ways to start too, and I think college is one of the tough ones out there. But I'm actually going to start in NBA, and it's probably no surprise. I gotta go out with Pat Riley. So Pat Riley, kind of like my all-around pick, I would say. I mean, the guy's a legend. He probably has stories for days too. I mean, he's coached Kareem, Magic, LeBron, Shaq, Wade. I mean, there's probably endless. I mean, you could probably get good stories from him. He's probably a good time. I mean, down there in Miami, I'm sure we can have a high-end dinner. We can have some hit South Beach or something like that. But just a legend in all regard. With like, and as an NBA player champion, and as a 6-time coach champion as well, and then even as executive as a coach. So I think, or as an NBA champion. So got to go with Pat Riley. So
I like it. That's awesome. Yeah, Pat Riley. And you know what? I learned a ton about Pat Riley from that HBO show, the Dynasty, the Rise of the Lakers. And it's pretty cool. Like, if you really followed his career, he's a pretty impressive guy. And I think he played for Adolph Rupp over at Kentucky as well.
Yeah, he was the SEC Player of the Year in Kentucky. So
that's awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to go now, and I have a very interesting eclectic list here. So I don't know which way I want to go. So I'm just going to pull a random guy off my list. And even though it's the first pick, I am going to go with the newly minted coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm going to go with Deion Sanders.
That's a good one.
Just because I think this guy would get real interesting, and high up in those Rocky Mountains up in Boulder now. Air's a little thinner, that alcohol hits a little harder. So I think Deion Sanders would have some phenomenal stories, current and past. So I'm going to go with Deion as my college coach here.
I'm kind of mad I actually didn't think of Deion.
That's a really good one
right now, but
that's a really good one.
Yes.
Just a random one. Like I think it's going to be interesting who we pair with some of these coaches. This is a very hypothetical table here, but it's going to be fun. So we'll see what we're going to do with this. We're not going to do a snake draft, so we're just going to keep going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 all the way through. So Greg, we're just going to go back to you on this one.
Okay. Yeah, picking like an order is really hard on these. And I'll admit, I did not think about like my group necessarily. I didn't think about the group dynamic. So like, I think
you don't have to just see how
this one's going to kind of fit right along with Bobby Knight though, as far as kind of fiery personalities. But I'm going to go NFL, former NFL coach, and I'm going to go Mike Ditka.
Nice.
Nice.
Kind of again, like, well, he's got a really, I don't know if anybody's been to Chicago and been to his steakhouse. We got like a location we can go to Ditka's Steakhouse in Chicago, get a nice private table in the back. We got Bobby Knight, we got Mike Ditka. But again, like another just, he's been I don't know what happened. Like maybe it's because he's getting older, but he used to be on ESPN all the time and he just kind of disappeared. But just like he is like the definition of a football guy. So we've said stories a lot, and you're going to get a ton of football stories from this guy. And, and just, it'd be interesting to talk to him about how he traded his entire draft for Ricky Williams, as well as just some of those Bears teams and, just his life experiences. Great coach, unique guy. I'm going with Iron Mike.
Love it. And went to college at Pitt. So probably get some stories there. Actually, it's about 45 minutes from here. It's called Robinson Township. It's a little bit outside the Pittsburgh airport. There's a steakhouse there too called Ditka's. So got one a little bit closer to home here as well.
There you go.
So,
that's perfect.
All right, very good. So Mike Ditka with Greg's NFL coach. Dave, we're going to go to you now.
All right. Yeah. I definitely didn't think about like if I were to bring this whole crew together. Interesting night. But there's a lot of ways. I want to go into college. So there's a lot of ways you can go here too. And I don't know if we're talking about like age when we're going to what age we get to get this coach out, but I want to go ahead and take Pete Carroll. So nice. Pete Carroll was also qualifies as an NFL coach, but I think that makes him unique. The fact that he's one of the successful coaches to bridge from, one of the ones that says go from college into the pros. Ton of football stories. I also feel like he'd be like a fun time out too. So I gotta go Pete Carroll. I think that'd be solid. So
that's good.
You think he'd tell you about any funny business that happened at USC with those teams? Not
enough. We would get we'd be like, all right, let's talk about all those, all the players getting paid over there, and Bush and everything. But no, I think he would be good. So
okay, all right, very good. All right, with my pick, I'm going to go NFL here, and I had honestly, I think this NFL and college basketball, I think I had the most written down for, but I'm gonna take someone that's new to the head coaching realm, but he is definite football guy. He's got his team playing really well right now. I'm gonna go with Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions coach, because I think he is a fiery dude, but he gets the most out of his players, and you could tell like. He's one of those guys. Let's just hypothetically say we get into a bar fight too. Dan Campbell is not backing down to anybody. So Deion Sanders is going to start talking shit, and then Dan Campbell will have our backs there too. So that's going to be my pick.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, he
a little different. We'll see how long he sticks around as a head coach, but he's got his team playing well right now. So we'll see. All right, Greg, so far you used your college coach and your NFL coach. So where are you going next?
Yeah, I'm going to go NBA. And this will be, I believe, well, no, Dave, we've done never mind. We've done a few actives. So this will be an active coach. And probably one of the greatest to ever do it. I'm going to go Greg Popovich. First of all, I know he's a big wine guy, so like he'd have some really good wine out for the group. But in all honesty, like he would just be a great. First of all, he's very kind of worldly, like it seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulders, has a lot of really good thoughts and opinions on things. So he would be great to talk about, anything other than it doesn't even have to be basketball, but you just be an interesting guy to have around, but certainly if we get into basketball, he's one of the all-time great motivators and coaches. And honestly, like over the years, and maybe it's because they, we were kind of sick of the Spurs being good all the time. You kind of like, this guy, they were kind of like, kind of like the Warriors are now in any successful team. But as the years have gone on, he just feels like one of the most decent guys, like imaginable. Like he just seems like a good person. I mean, even like when watching them the other night when the Cavs played the Spurs, like just after the game. I mean, he's just like goes over to people, hugs them, like talks to them. Like he just seems like a really genuine, caring guy. So it'd be just great to get his perspectives on motivation and coaching, and obviously get some stories and good wine.
That's a great pick. That's who I had number one on my NBA list as well.
Yeah.
So the wine doesn't hurt either. That's a good choice. Good choice. All right, Dave, to you.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, did you use Pete Carroll as your college or your NFL?
I use him as college because I'm going to go
Okay.
NFL.
Okay.
I'm going to go NFL right now, and I'm going. I'm not even sure this person drinks, but I mean, I'm going inspirational too, but I'm going to go Tony Dungy. So
Okay.
I think, I mean, Tony Dungy. I mean, like when I was going through some of his stuff, like he's just big public speaking. I know he's a big Christian guy, so I don't know if he's drinking or not, but he's done things. He's a Super Bowl player and coach winner. So I mean, he's got both of those accolades to his name as well. He like mentored Mike Vick, I know, and things like that. So like he would not fit in probably with my rest of my crowd after that. He wouldn't be like out in the clubs with me and Riley, but I mean, he would be a good one-on-one person. I think he would be inspirational and like have like a lot of good life lessons and just like, inspirational things and to go from. So he's probably my inspirational coach on my list. So
I like that. And he could be like the dad of the group too. He can kind of keep everyone in order.
well, if he doesn't drink, you could be you could be designated driver as well. So.
That's a good point. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. I am also, I only wrote down a couple NBA coaches, and I just want current, but I'm going to kind of go along the same lines as Greg with NBA coaches. I think this guy's more worldly. He's got a lot of opinions, and he coaches not too far from Napa Valley as well. So I'm going to go with Steve Kerr, former Cleveland Cavalier, former Chicago Bull. Obviously, he's been part of many dynasties or a couple dynasties, and coached and played with a couple of the greatest of all time in Steph Curry and obviously Michael Jordan. So I just think he'd be a great one to pick his brain, and also he could probably throw a few glasses of wine back as well, and have some he'd probably get a little fiery as well. I think, wasn't there a story of him and Jordan getting in a fight or something in practice? So he's not going to back down to anybody. So my group, Dion, Dan Campbell, and now Steve Kerr. So far, I think we got a fun group right there. So.
And if you remember from The Last Dance, he's got like a very interesting, but like kind of traumatic like backstory
with his dad
too. So definitely that's a great pick.
Yeah. Steve Kerr's a interesting dude, but I think a good dude too. Still would rather have a drink with Popovich first, but beggars can't be choosers here. But all right, very good. So I think all of our NBA is checked off. We got 3 guys, but you can still take them on a flex. So Greg, we are back to you. You can.
You'd also have to ask him about being 3-1 up on the Cavs too, of course, right?
Amen.
After
Amen.
Oh boy. So, all right. Well, man, this is like, I guess we haven't broached the fictional topic yet. So I think I'm going to do just that. My all-time favorite, movie coach. I mean, there's so many great movie coaches, but like my all-time, the one nearest and dearest to my heart is the manager of our beloved Cleveland Indians, formerly of Tire World. Also managed the Toledo Mud Hens in the International League for like 30 years or something. I'm going with Lou Brown. I mean, that guy, it probably needs no explanation, but he was your classic, like, I mean, the great thing about that character was like that he felt like a Major League Baseball manager, especially one in like the 80s. And he'd be a fun time. And yeah, I'd like to just hear about his career path because it's very unique. And just what it was like with that cast of characters on that Cleveland Indians group that got through the Yankees.
You get a Rachel Phelps pull away for every drink you take.
I want to know about all his hunches and everything. And
Oh
just,
yeah.
yeah, just that the managerial style. But no, he's a legend.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay. All right. So Lou Brown, our first fictional coach, comes off the board. Dave, to you.
Okay, I'm gonna switch over to baseball and kind of go like a double play here, pun intended, I guess. Now I'm gonna gotta go Pete Rose. So I'm getting.
That's a good.
I completely forgot he was a
That's a
manager.
great one.
Yes, right. So I mean, I don't know what I'll get out of him on it, and everything, but like honestly, he's probably you're getting him out more for the player. His records leading in hits. I mean, I also think he'd probably be able to drink his. He probably might be able to drink the most on my team right here in terms of get him out in Vegas, get him at the tables perhaps or something like that. But I think Pete Rose would be a good time too. So maybe, again, if we can dial the age a little bit on some of these folks, it would be great. But for sure, I think Pete Rose would be a solid. But yes, you don't think of him as a coach, short-lived until, of course, his suspension. But yeah, he definitely was. I guess he qualifies under the rules. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. That's fantastic. All right. So Pete Rose. So Dave, you're checking off all the you're checking off all the categories here. Love it. All right. I am going to go also with a major league coach. I thought about our near and dear beloved Guardians head coach, but I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna go with Buck Showalter. I just think he's an interesting dude. Coached the Yankees, coached the Orioles, was on Seinfeld plenty of times with George Costanza on there. So I think he's just got some interesting perspectives he brings to the game. Like I heard, and this is someone with blue eyes that will tell you this. I heard this one story once where he will not, if everything's a tie, he will take a player with darker color eyes because they hit better statistically in the daytime than a blue-eyed person. That's I like a little factual like things like that. Like, we talk about football guys all the time. I feel like Buck Showalter lives in the dugout and like sleeps in the dugout, and like he'll leave to grab some food or use the bathroom, but he is right back in that dugout. He lives, eats, and sleeps baseball. So that's why I'm going to go with him, and I think he would have some great stories. So he is my major league pick. So we will go back to Greg. You got 2 more picks left in this, so we'll see where you go.
Yep. So I'm going to go MLB too. And I just like you, I had, I was, I know since you guys have already picked baseball, Francona crossed my mind too. Nothing but love for him, but I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction too. And I'm going to go with Joe Madden. I just like, I'm always kind of fascinated by people who think outside the box, and he's just kind of another, like one of those guys that would just be interesting to sit down. And baseball, of all the sports, for me, baseball is probably the one that I feel like I could sit down and talk to somebody the most about, right? Yeah. It's just like, it's just the nature of the sport. I think you could just talk baseball for hours. And he would be a great guy to do it. And he, in a lot of ways, has revolutionized the game with just some of the different ways that he looked at, how to approach managing a game. We I think we grew up in the era of like, okay, righties face righties and lefties face lefties, and you bat your fastest guy at the top of the order, and and all that kind of stuff. But he, looked at the game a lot differently, and you see that now kind of creeping around in all parts of baseball, where teams look at the way the game's played completely differently. And he was kind of a big revolutionary on that, almost like a little Mike Leach-esque in a way, where he did kind of change the way that people look at baseball, and he just seems like a cool dude. So Joe Madden.
I like it. That's a good kind of, I had him a little off my radar, but now that you said that, that's some good points about him. All right, Dave, let's go with yours.
All right, I went, I'm going to go fictional coach here too. And I kind of played I guess when I did the fictional coach thinking, I also thought about the actor who would be playing the coach. So as a kind of a bias there, but I'm going to go with Sean Porter from the Gridiron Gang, which is played by The Rock.
Okay.
So, I mean, to go out with The Rock would be, first of all, everything. Talk about your bar fight. I think we can compete now,
He's matching up against Campbell for sure.
Yeah, him and Campbell are going to go ahead toe to toe there. We're definitely going to drink some tequila. We're going to put that down. And so, but he's all around too, like inspirational guy too. Just, who doesn't want to go out with The Rock and like hang out with him? I think it would be, it'd be great to be out with him. So I'm going to go. There's a lot of good fictional coaches, and like there's a couple other ones on the list that maybe we'll mention at the end, but I'm going to go with Sean Porter. So
Okay. All right. Well, it's my turn now for my fictional coach before I get to my flex. So this guy's only going to be able to drink it with one hand, but I'm going to go with Chubbs Peterson.
wait a minute, is that allowed because it's golf? I thought
He's a golf coach. He's a golf coach. He is a fictional coach of a sport. So I'm going with Chubbs Peterson, and even though he's only got that one hand, he could probably, throw some jabs still if we do get in a bar fight. But I think that guy would have some phenomenal stories, not to mention taking on a gator and, just living around the golf course. Those guys can throw it back just as well as probably any other sport. So Chubbs Peterson, love it. Had to take him. He was my number one fictional coach to have a drink with. So which brings us to our final round, and then if we have any honorable mentions or whatever, we can name those guys at the end. There's a few guys that I'm really surprised have not gone yet, but let's see. So Greg, just to list your team, you got Bobby Knight, Mike Ditka, Greg Popovich, Lou Brown, and Joe Madden. So who are you going to round out your drinking crew with?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go off the radar here. And this is a guy who's no longer living. But I believe, in my opinion, and probably in a lot of opinions, maybe responsible for the single greatest coaching job in the history of modern sports. I'm gonna go with Herb Brooks, coach of the 1980 US Olympic hockey team. And I just think he's a Minnesota guy. He probably could throw a few back. I'm sure he could. I have no idea if he was an interesting guy or not an interesting guy, but I would love to pick that guy's brain about how he was able to construct a team of college kids that would beat Russia in hockey. Again, that is like the ultimate David versus Goliath story. Even though I don't know really the first thing about like the tactics of hockey, it would be very interesting, especially within the context of that group, to like hear his thoughts on coaching and motivation.
I love it. A great pick. Okay. All right, Dave, you're going to round out yours with, you got Pat Riley, Pete Carroll, Tony Dungy, Pete Rose, and Sean Porter, played by The Rock. So who is your last pick going to be?
I'm honestly torn between, I'm audible and as Greg's talking here too, but I had on my list, I'm just going to stick with what I had on my list. It's not a super flashy or sexy pick, but it's kind of like a pick for the future. And it's probably no surprise I picked Eric Spoelstra. So only fan, true, but I wanted to have something that a more active coach. I know Pete Carroll's still coaching, but he's pushing it. He's like in his low 70s there, maybe. I don't know how long he's got left. Spoelstra's still young and going. I feel like I get some good stories that I can keep with it. And, obviously being a Heat fan, that's near and dear to me. So.
Okay.
Like it.
I will say, I sat behind the Heat bench like a few weeks ago, and he is one of the skinniest people I've ever seen.
Really?
He's surprisingly super thin. Like I was a little bit concerned there for a minute. So
we'll be concerned about how much he can drink before he has to get right home from down here. We'll see.
Right. Okay. All right. I love it. All right. So I got my flex left, and I hate to do this, but I have to name drop because I have drank a few times with current coaches. The number one, and I'm not going to draft him because I've actually experienced drinking with him, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever, is obviously Bob Huggins. and literally went to a West Virginia practice at 10:30 in the morning, looked over at a few of us that were there to watch the practice and go to the football game later. He goes, "Get these guys a drink." 10:30 in the morning. So it was great. Brought in some of his people too, but it was really cool to see. But with that said, I'm going to go with a different college coach, one that is in the Bourbon state of the United States, and I'm going to go with John Calipari. I have met him before, but I've never shared a drink with him, and I mean, I'm sure he knows the best bourbon distilleries in his area. So I'm going to go with Coach Cal there. I think he'd be another one that could be awesome, you know, have some great stories. Also coached in the NBA with the Nets as well way back. So Coach Cal for me. You know, there's a bunch more we could name, but we got about a minute left, guys. So if you want to just throw out some honorable mentions, Dave, we'll start with you.
I mean, no one mentioned like Saban, Coach K, Belichick. Those are probably the three I'd think about. But like with Saban and Belichick, you wonder if you're going to have a good time. But but maybe it'd be interesting to see if they actually come out of their shell. And Coach K from Inspirational. The one last I'll say is like it'd be interesting because we always joke. Get Hal McRae out, like, hey, whatever happened to the phone? You threw that phone.
If nobody's seen it, look up just YouTube Hal McRae. And
right, you haven't seen
good.
it.
Time meltdown.
Gone. So
he's good.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, why don't you go?
I mean,
ahead.
there are literally so many, but to Dave's point, it's great. Like some of the all-time legends we didn't mention, like somebody like Bill Parcells comes to mind, would be a lot of fun. Totally it's similar to like Dave's Spoelstra pick, like, and he's very new, but like I think Mike McDaniel would be interesting to get out. Like, I mean, just somebody that's completely unlike probably anybody that's ever coached in the NFL. That would be cool.
I agree. I had Mike McDaniel on my list as well. I think Steve Spurrier would be a great one. Jim Calhoun would be phenomenal. How about if you want to get rowdy, you get Dana Holgerson or John Gruden out there. But there's some really, really good ones. If you want to get weird, you get Jim Harbaugh out, you know, and there's a bunch of great names out there. But Mike Bray from Notre Dame. There's a lot of fun ones, but this was fun doing this, and we'll create our tables and share it out with some people, see what they think, and see who they'd want to have a drink with. So, gentlemen, cheers. Appreciate you guys joining me, and